Paper Girl Season 1 Ending Explained. This new time-traveling show follows 4 Paper Girls from the late 80s winding up in 2019, 1999, and then so desperately wanting to get back to their original timeline and in the process go on a turbulent journey to say the least. With an ending that leaves many things open for a Season 2 of the show, I thought I'd jump straight into it and explain what happened. So, here is Paper Girl Season 1 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. This show focused around 4 girls, Erin, Mac, Tiffany and KJ. 4 Paper Girls from 1988 who ended up in the year 2019 and encountered future versions of themselves. And also then in the late 90s where they were then stuck in after being promised by Larry, a member of the underground, where he stated that he would get them back to 88. However, he lied and decided to send them to the 90s instead. Each of these individuals didn't really know each other or hang around with each other, other than on their morning paper round as they all had different areas of the town that they lived in, but they now found themselves stuck together and couldn't get out. After learning about the motives behind the underground, who were a group of individuals that contained Larry and Juniper, we found out that they wanted to go back in time and remove the negative things that had happened. However, the Old Watch stated that it came at a price. We were made to believe that the Old Watch were the bad guys in all of this and were hunting the girls down. But right in the closing moments of the season, we had a twist of fate from Pyrus, who had essentially been acting as a bounty hunter all throughout the season, with the group looking out for and waiting for a fold in time so that they could return home to 88. They got something far worse, which was a time rip, something they couldn't travel through, and was also throwing things from their original timeline of 1988 into the timeline that they were in. We saw the walkie-talkie from 1988 get thrown through the rip that was connected to Heck and Naldo, who originally took the walkie-talkie in the first episode. Juniper aimed to reach them and tell them where they were, so that they could come and be rescued. But once she was speaking down the device, we heard Mac in her original timeline saying the line that she said in the first episode, showing that the events that were unfolding had already happened and there was no changing them. They were going to happen again and again, almost acting like a time loop that couldn't be broken no matter what was changed. This was then when we saw the Old Watch arrive and the motives and intentions of the group then changed. With no way out of the 90s, they pleaded with Grandfather, who essentially said how he would allow the Old Watch to drop them back in their timeline with no memories, and he did promise to do so. But out of the blue, KJ threw a spanner in the works and asked for something different. Due to Mac being ill and dying in 1992, 4 years after the original timeline, she instead asked him to drop them into a future where there was a cure for the illness, so that she'd be able to survive, rather than going back to 88 where she was destined to die in only a few years. Grandfather informed them that it wouldn't be possible due to the way that time travel works, and how altering things in different timelines would be detrimental to the world if they were to do so, but it was extremely unbelievable, due to the fact that many things had changed in the other timelines. It just felt as though he didn't want to allow them to do so. This was then when we saw Pyrus change her motives, and we saw her help the group of girls. It was revealed to us that Tiffany, one of the 4 girls, although in the late 90s it seemed as though she threw away her hopes and dreams of being an academic, she did found a facility in the future, and we saw this through Tiffany searching when she was in the year 2019. Pyrus revealed to us that the future version of Tiffany was on the very team that founded time travel and made it possible, contributing to the cathedral and the Old Watch being created, and thus being the root cause which allowed everything that we'd seen on screen to be possible. This was then when Pyrus stated that if she still wanted to save Mac, then they'd be able to go to a timeline where Tiffany had set up the foundation, and she may be able to help find a way to make her survive. We saw her set up a fold that was supposed to lead to the date where they were intending on going. However, as she did this, she was fired at by a team member, which led Erin and Tiffany to leave the pod to help her, which then left Mac and KJ inside of the ship, which departed without them. We saw Erin give Pyrus the bugs that she had at the start of the show, which allowed her wound to heal. With this, it gave her the energy to program another ship to go to the timeline, but as it was about to depart, we saw members of the Old Watch mess with the system, and although it departed, it didn't take them to the correct destination. We saw Erin and Tiffany arrive at a timeline where they were at a drive-in cinema where David Bowie was being played in the background, and the movie The Longest Yard was on screen. Both of these things were released in the mid-1970s, and in the context of the show would now mean that it dates back to the time just before they were born. They won't even be able to have the help of Larry to go and find due to the fact that he'd be younger, and in the era of the late 90s he'd only been in the underground program for 18 months. So they're quite literally on their own and will need to use the skills that they've learned over the course of Season 1 to try and find a way back. There was no other ship present alongside them, which to me means that KJ and Mac are most likely in the correct timeline that Pyrus sent them to, in order to get a cure for Mac's illness. It leads me to think that it would be way far ahead in the future, especially considering that Tiffany said how she was expecting to see flying cars when she arrived at her destination. We've not seen the group across two different timelines before, so it's something that I imagine is going to cause some confusion, disruption, and trouble in Season 2 of the show. Maybe both of their actions could cause problems in the timelines that they're both in real time. We saw the characters learn a lot about themselves and battle their inner demons and future problems. Tiffany dropping out as an academic and being adopted, KJ coming to terms with her sexuality, Erin facing the idea of not having this perfect life and relationship with her sister, and Mac knowing that her life was going to be coming to an end moments after returning to the correct timeline. We saw these revelations impact their decisions that they made and the way that they spoke with each other and faced issues at the end. I think this show was okay. I don't think it's the best thing that I've seen on TV in terms of time travel, but I did like the different timelines and the naivety of seeing technology in 2019 for the first time by somebody in the 1980s. There are certainly points in this show where the dialogue does feel a little rigid and forced. The story gets a little confusing, which I imagine could be deliberate, and the CGI is very questionable, especially in the final episode, which does take you out of it a little. I often found that I preferred the more intimate moments where we're seeing them reflect on the people that they became, and the way that they've ended up based on the actions of other people in their lives, and the relationships that they took for granted in the modern day. I'll for sure watch Season 2 when it does get released, but I think it would need to improve drastically if it were to become a household name of a show. So, there you have it. Paper Girls Season 1 Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos on your favourite shows such as Endings Explained, Theories and Predictions, and Character Breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you want to give me a show or movie to review next, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of this show? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.